The time has finally come for me to do my first roll as you go Bookoploloy roll of November, and I nearly cried in the first like 50 pages of this book. It's time for our next roll. Do people die in this book? If so, I really hope he's first. And everything's just a little bit sleazy in a way that is making me feel really, really nauseous. So I'm really excited. The time has finally come for me to do my first roll as you go Bookoploloy roll of November. So I'm just gonna get the board set up and we'll see what I land on. So the last space that I landed on was this fantasy space. So essentially my scope is from here to here, and I have a feeling because of the side of the board that we're going on, there's most chance that it's going to be contemporary or romance, which neither of which I'm in the mood for at the minute. I'm really into. I think it's because I don't have any kind of time limits with being more chill about things. I really just want to read fantasy, and a lot of fantasy as well, but we will see what happens. Let's do this. 5. And as I thought, we've landed on contemporary. Okay, so I'm also, of course, participating in the Clear Your Shit readathon in the month of November and also December. And I think the next prompt that I'm up to on that is recommended, and this one is also going to be one that my patrons pick for me, so I need to find 4 contemporaries to put to a vote. But I'm wondering, let me have a look, because we're up to week 2 of Clear Your Shit, so I can actually, if I want to, pick one of the next 3 challenges and skip recommended for now, but I can't remember what those ones are. The book that people talk about a lot, shortest book, or steal a book from someone else's TBR. Okay, I'm thinking actually that I may pick the 4 books from my Unhaul cart if I can. I have actually been wanting to do at least one more episode of this before the end of the year, so maybe we'll go with that one that we're definitely putting in that counts for a book people talk about and recommended. And also believathon is Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World, so that one is definitely going in. For a recommendation, I could also put in Alice in Wonderland, also Arrowheart, because Gavin gifted me both of these and has also read and enjoyed them. I also have Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, which is a reasonably well-known one. Then I also have more than that as well, because I've got like Us by David Nichols, The Disreputable History of Frankie Lando Banks, I've Lost My Way by Gail Forman. I also have some thrillers in here. The Last Boy and Girl in the World by Siobhan Vivian, sorry, would kind of count with a sci-fi twist. So would I Hope You Get This Message. And I'm not sure what I want to do. Okay, so I'm gonna go with the first 4 that I pulled out, because I think all of them are going to be pretty quick reads. So Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World, this one is a middle grade. It is also on my believathon TBR to read a contemporary, so that one works. And for Clear Your Shit, this one will be a book that's been recommended because I know a lot of you guys have said it's really good. Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, this one is like super short, so if this wins for Clear Your Shit, it'll be shortest book. Arrowheart by, oh, this is a fantasy, I think. Yeah, no, that's a fantasy. We'll put that back. So we're replacing that one with I Have Lost My Way by Gail Forman, YA contemporary. I don't think that I can swing this as a Clear Your Shit prompt, but it might not win because it's going to be a poll, so we'll see. And Alice in Wonderland, I'm going to go for recommended on this one for Clear Your Shit. This one is a queer YA contemporary, and this was given to me by Gavin, and it's even signed and personalised. Gavin got this signed and personalised for me. So I'm going to go and sort out a poll for these 4, and I will be back when the results are in to let you guys know what I'm going to be reading. So the votes are in, and we're about to find out what book I'm going to be kicking off this episode of the Unhaul project with. But before we get into that, I would love to introduce you guys to today's video sponsor, which is of course the wonderful Ana Luisa. So a big thank you to Ana Luisa for continuing to support this channel. So if you guys are unfamiliar with Ana Luisa, they are a small batch jewelry company that offer precious metal jewelry, so silver and gold, and also diamond jewelry at super affordable prices, and they're also incredibly sustainable. Ana Luisa are completely CO2 neutral. All of their diamonds are cruelty-free and lab grown, and they also strive to provide ethical factory conditions where all of their jewelry pieces are made. Now, there are many things that I love about Ana Luisa. I love that their jewelry is really simple and elegant and also perfect for layering, but something that's kind of specific, it will apply to a lot of you guys, but something specific for me that I really love about Ana Luisa is that when you shop their earrings, they tell you what material the posts of the earrings are made out of, and they also have a whole ton of their earrings where the posts are made out of titanium or surgical steel. As we will discuss when I show you the pieces that I'm wearing, I do have quite a few issues with my ears. I have psoriasis on my scalp, which affects the backs of my ears a little bit, and also all of my ear piercings in the past and also still currently are a little bit finicky. So when I'm shopping for earrings, I'm specifically looking for hypoallergenic materials, and I find that a lot of jewelry brands predominantly use silver for their posts. So I truly love that a whole ton of Ana Luisa's earrings have titanium or surgical steel posts, because I find when I specifically search for earrings with titanium or surgical steel posts, I get a lot of just like real standard generic looking earrings. So I don't get all of those like more fashionable and aesthetically pleasing options that I can get when I shop somewhere like Ana Luisa. So for the pieces that I'm wearing today, they were all kindly sent to me by Ana Luisa, so of course thank you for that as well. Today I am wearing one of the necklaces from the heritage set that I have layered with this absolutely beautiful May necklace, which has a really pretty moon and star design. Moons and stars are some of my favorite things to wear in jewelry, along with of course snakes and daggers. So as for the earrings I'm wearing today, I'm still currently wearing the titanium bars that I had my seconds pierced with, because as I've just mentioned, I have awkward, sensitive, finicky ears. They take a little bit longer to heal. They've been pierced for about 2 months now and they're not quite there, although we're getting there. We're nearly at a point where I can change these out. But I do have this absolutely stunning pair of Elios hoops from Ana Luisa, which I requested specifically for my seconds piercings. I have worn these once and I can tell you they are absolutely stunning when they're paired with the other hoops that I'm wearing today. But these are the perfect set of hoops for a seconds piercing, and they just have that little bit of sparkle while cupping your lobes perfectly. So the second pair of hoops I have in today are the Octo mini hoops. I love myself a chunky industrial looking earring, so I absolutely adore these ones, and I love the way that they look paired with something a little bit daintier like the little Elios hoop. So if anything I've said sounds interesting to you guys today and you would like to check out Ana Luisa for yourself, if you head into my description box and click on the link at the very top, you can shop Ana Luisa's biggest sale of the year, which is buy one get one 60% off, and that offer is running until the 29th of November. So please don't hesitate to go check out Ana Luisa, and of course a big thank you to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video. So I don't think I've actually explained to you guys, if you're new here, what my Unhaul project actually is, because we just dove straight into my Bookoploloy role because I was so damn excited for it. But real early on in the year, I started this Unhaul project. I have a TBR cart, which is this one behind me, which has a whole ton of books off my shelves that I'm really unsure about on it. So I posted a cart tour which featured all of the books that would be present in this challenge, and the thing is, like, I want to try out all of these books. They do sound vaguely interesting to me, but because they're not genres that I typically read from, I run a really big risk of not enjoying them. Like, I'm just really unsure, but I want to give them a try. So I've done 3 episodes in the series so far. I think I have anyway. I think this is episode 4, where I spend a week reading through some of the books on that cart, and we get to see whether I know my own reading taste, like whether I was right to be unsure about them, or whether there's some hidden gems in there, because I don't doubt that there is. Just because they're genres that I don't typically read doesn't mean that there aren't a few in there that I'm going to be giving 4 or 5 stars. So the votes are in. I haven't checked them yet, but we are about to find out which book I am going to be kicking off this vlog with. Oh, okay, so we only had 3 votes for I have lost my way. There's 75 votes in total, 15 votes for Alex in Wonderland. Then we had 18 votes for Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, but winning the poll with 39 votes is Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World. Now this is one of the longer ones on there, but it is a middle grade, so I think this is going to be a pretty quick read. This is following a young girl who has a sketchbook where she has been kind of, I guess, unknowingly exploring her sexuality and drawing pictures of girls holding hands. A hurricane sweeps through her town. I'm not sure if it's set like around Hurricane Katrina or some sort of like well-known disaster that happened, and all of her stuff goes missing, but somebody starts to post back her sketchbook pages to her anonymously, and I think that she's hoping that it's this girl that she has a crush on. So I've heard that this is really good. It's also an important book in terms of this is aimed at a middle grade audience, and it has LGBTQIA+ rep, which of course is really important. It's not something that we see a whole ton of, and I've heard that it's super impactful. It's just contemporary, and then contemporary paired with middle grade as well, which I do enjoy, but specifically I enjoy like middle grade fantasy. I don't think I'm gonna love it, but I'm sure that I can still acknowledge the fact that it's good. So we're gonna be kicking off with this. Hopefully it won't take me too long, and I'll fill you in along the way. I'm saying now I don't think that I'm gonna love it just because it's middle grade contemporary, but I also have a feeling that it's gonna get me with how cute it is. So we'll see how it goes. So I have just got done with filming a video, but I thought I'd better come talk to you guys because I'm already 2/3 of the way through Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World. And I did technically start this on Saturday, but I only read, I think, 8 pages. And I blasted through 200 pages of this yesterday. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna finish this one tonight, but I forgot how not only quick to read middle grade is, but also how quick to read contemporary is. And because this is a combination of the two, like I'm flying through it, and it doesn't really feel like I am either. I was reading this before the Elderling live show that I had yesterday, and I only had about 30 minutes, so I was reading like 10-page chapters, and every time I finished a chapter I was checking the time because I knew that I had to get up and get ready to do this live show, and only like 3 minutes had passed. This one has a lot of elements in the plot that I didn't realize going into it. Like I knew that Ivy's home was, or Ivy's town at least, was destroyed by this tornado that comes through, which is tied in to her notebook going missing, and the core of the plot is about this missing notebook and people posting her the pictures back. But there's just so much in here that just I didn't realize, and I'm actually really enjoying it. We start off with Ivy on the night of this tornado, and I nearly cried in the first like 50 pages of this book because it starts off where like Ivy's woken up early in the morning so she can do some drawing, and this massive tornado comes and completely obliterates their house. Something that's recurring throughout this book as well is that Ivy's feeling quite displaced in her family. She has an older sister and she has 2 twin baby brothers. Being the youngest child up until these babies were born, I can imagine that she's never really, well, she's obviously never had to experience a new baby in the household before, but her brothers have been born. Her parents are a little bit all over the place because even though they've had kids before, like these are twins as well, so they've got 2 of them, and her mother's not behaving like her mother, obviously adjusting to life as a woman with 4 children, 2 of which are literally babies, and Ivy just feels really out of place. Aside from this, she has kind of been exploring that she has feelings towards girls. I don't want to say romantic feelings because she's only 12. More than friendly feelings towards girls, and she doesn't know what this means, so she just feels so out of place in her family. There's little bits, because we're reading from Ivy's perspective, we're seeing how she's being pushed out, like her mother not noticing things. We also see how like sometimes she pays more attention to Ivy's older sister. Like her parents are not bad parents at all, they're just adults with a lot of stuff going on, because throughout this book not only do they have 4 children, 2 of which are babies, their home has also been destroyed and they have to try and fix that. But obviously Ivy's going through a lot as well, and it's her perspective that we're reading from. So after their house is obliterated, they end up going to the school gym, which is like the evacuation point, and the only thing that Ivy's managed to take from her home was her pillow, and she tucked her notebook into the pillowcase where it had been stolen during the night that they spent in this gym. And she starts to get these pictures posted back to her with notes that that say like, I really like your drawing, I think you should talk to somebody about it. But Ivy is absolutely terrified of people finding out that she may have feelings and be interested in girls, which I think is definitely understandable, and that is the reason why books like this are so important for children, because it's not about sexualizing children, which I've seen thrown around and it's absolutely ridiculous, like introducing sex and sexuality to children at too young an age. It's not about that. It is about normalizing relationships so that children who are growing up and then start to go through puberty, maybe experiencing these feelings, don't feel quite so isolated, and they've seen examples in the world around them, they've seen examples in media that like there are other relationships than a heteronormative one, and all of those different options are okay. So I will say it's not going to be a 5-star read from me, because while I am really enjoying it, and I definitely think it's important that this is a story for children and it has made me emotional, still a contemporary middle grade, you know, so it's not gonna hit all of those 5-star buttons for me, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm flying through it, and I definitely think it has a lot of important things to say. It's very complex in that it contains multiple different elements, and all of these are like playing into how Ivy is feeling and why she's kind of feeling and behaving the way that she is, and that she's very isolated and lonely and just doesn't feel comfortable with anything in her life right now. So I'm not hoping actually, I think I'm definitely gonna finish this today, because it'll maybe take me like 40 minutes tops to get through it. So I will definitely make sure that I finish this tonight, and then I'll let you guys know what I think, and we're gonna do another roll. And once again, I'm so excited. I finished Ivy Aberdeen's Letters to the World, which I think this is the first time in a long time that I've said that I'm gonna finish a book by a certain time and have actually finished the book. But I gave this 4 stars. I really liked it. I don't think I have anything really to expand on what I said earlier. I will say that when I went into this, like you guys know, I said that I thought that the cuteness would get to me in here, and it did get to me, but not because it's cute. I mean, there is some cuteness there, and it does end on like an uplifting note, but I was just really sad all the way through this, because even though like I think reading middle grade as an adult is interesting because you always relate to the parents that you would have hated. Ivy's feeling displaced, as I said, throughout this book in her family, and I understand why, because I can see what her parents are doing, and I'm like, oh no, that's just reinforcing how she's feeling right now. But at the same time, I understand her parents are stressed, the house is just completely blown down, like there's absolutely nothing left. They have 2 small babies, they need to go to work to make money to rebuild their house but also look after their family. So I really relate to the parents and understand, but I also, because you're in Ivy's perspective, understood how she was feeling as well. Very emotional read, I want to say, and I did nearly I did tear up a few times throughout the beginning of this, nearly cried. Definitely worth the read, definitely important read, 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. I think this is going to be one of the ones that I am going to unhaul, but it's going to be one of those that I sit with for a little while. So right now I'm kind of like on the fence about it, but I know that when it comes to like maybe the end of the month, when I'm gathering things for my wrap up and I'm then putting things away afterwards, it will be one where I'm like, yeah, no, I don't need this book, but I am really glad I've read it. There's something really good as well, because I like my long expansive stories, but there's something really enjoyable about reading a book in pretty much 2 sittings and just flying through it. Like, you have to work for the story with a chunky adult fantasy, you know, like it's a lot of pages, you got to put a lot into it. So there's something really refreshing and enjoyable about just sitting down and blasting through a real quick, easy read. So for believathon, this was to fulfill the prompt to read a contemporary, and I've lost the believathon card actually that was tucked in here, although I think it flew under the sofa, so I may have to dig that out. And then for the clear your shit readathon, I believe that I put this in for a book that has been recommended to you. So now that that's done, it's time for our next roll, and I'm really excited. This is going to be one of the ones that I'm picking, so I'm excited for that, but I'm also a little bit nervous because obviously I'm trying to do the Unhaul project, but I don't want to jinx myself. But if I land on something that forces me to pick a specific book, then it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, but I'll set up the board and we'll see what happens. So this is the contemporary square we were on last, and our scope this time is from romance to fantasy. So the chances are this time that we're gonna be landing on romance or sci-fi, which is fine, but I'm mainly concerned about this chance card here and also the Patreon pick space. So those are the 2 that I would like to, really like to avoid if possible. But let's see what we get. 7. which is a science fiction. So I checked the Clio ship prompts as well, and the next prompt after recommended is a book that people talk about. So, oh, what is this? I have no idea. You can't even see this, is that thin. I had a tiny metal wire stuck in my sock that just like, I got it caught between both of my feet and like pinged back. But like, I don't even know what this is or where it's come from. I'm gonna put that in there when it's safe. So, sci-fi that people talk about. I do have some sci-fi in here. I will say it's mainly dystopian, which is fine because that's a subgenre of sci-fi, but I need to put my glasses back on because I can't see very well. So I do have, I think, 4 books that definitely have sci-fi elements in them, but of those 4, only one of them I would really consider a book that people talk about. But there is one which I'm gonna go look up on Goodreads and see if it actually is sci-fi, because I don't know if it is or whether it's more of like a thriller. Okay, so the 2 that I was choosing between is The Power by Naomi Alderman. This one is an adult speculative fiction, which is kind of just a fancy way of saying sci-fi that literary fiction authors use, essentially. And Nerve by Gian Ryan. Now, in terms of quality, I know that this one is the better book, but I feel like this is going to be quite a hefty read that's going to take some concentration to get through, and I would have been more inclined to choose this one if we were a little bit closer to the weekend. But it's not the kind of book that I want to like pick up after I've worked all day and try and read a chapter of. I think it'll be dealing with some quite heavy topics as well, maybe. So I'm going with Nerve. This is the one that I had to look up on Goodreads because I wasn't sure about like whether the specifics of this game made the book actually sci-fi, but over 100 people have shelved it as sci-fi, so we're going with it. But this one is a YA science fiction. It's like a tech sci-fi about this online game that is essentially a series of high stakes dares, and the main character starts playing for the first time, and obviously the stakes keep rising higher and higher, but apparently the prize for winning the game is something that she really wants. So I've put this in for Clear Your Shit for a book that people talk about. I will say people don't really talk about it all that much anymore, but obviously it did gain a whole ton of attention when it was made into a movie, and I've heard the movie's better as well, so I might watch it when I finish this book. And aside from that one, I've mentioned this in like my self-destructing books because I think that this is on my self-destructing books pile for this year, although I have no recollection of that video anymore. But I'm pretty sure when I mentioned it in that video or whatever other videos I've mentioned this in, I do get quite a lot of people commenting on this, although I will say that the overwhelming response is that it's great in concept and not so great in execution, and that the movie's better. So I'll be reading this. I'm not going to be starting it tonight. I'm going to bed pretty soon because it's 11:45. I'll let you guys know what I think of it when I make a decent dent in it. I do reserve the right to DNF as well during this Unhaul project. I mean, I do anyway. You guys know I don't often DNF, but I can if I want to. But if this is awful, then I do get to DNF it. So it's not the end of the world if it does prove to be not all that great. Just popping in real quick to say that I'm only on page 44 of Nerve, and the guy in here who he's being set up as the love interest, but I'm kind of hoping that there's another love interest that comes into it, because the guy in here, Matthew, is absolutely disgusting. Like, he's a real creep and he's making me feel a little bit nauseous. So I'm hoping, do people die in this book? If so, I really hope he's first. I am 208, I think, pages in to Nerve, 210 pages in, and oh my god, this is so bad. It is so bad, but it's not the kind of bad where like I'm bored and I'm thinking I can't possibly read another page of this. It's the kind of bad where it's like a car crash that I just can't look away from. I am a little bit disappointed with some of the stuff. Like, this series of dares is supposed to get more and more high stakes, and now 210 pages in, it's getting a little bit like scary. But the rest of them, some of them are high stakes because it includes the competitors putting themselves into dangerous situations, but they're all really, really sleazy. Like this first one that she had to do very early on in the book, where she had to go into a coffee shop and pour a cup of water over herself and say cold water makes me hot or something. It's real juvenile stuff. You have to have somebody film it to enter into the competition, so she does it, and the reason why she does so well is because her top turns see-through. Now she's like 17 and this is being posted on the internet for thousands and thousands of people of undisclosed ages to see, even though all the competitors so far seem to be teenagers. So that was just like gross. One of the dares, this is slight spoilers, so if you don't want any spoilers at all, then please mute me for a hot second, I guess. But one of the dares involved her pretending, once again she's 17, pretending to prostitute herself. Some of them that have been mentioned, not ones that the main character's actually done, include like going to a sex shop. One of them involved going to a club for religious teenagers and asking them all for condoms, and everything's just a little bit sleazy in a way that is making me feel really, really nauseous, and I'm really just not gelling with those aspects of it at all. So essentially I'm turning the pages and I'm not bored, because every time I turn a page I'm just like, what the actual fuck am I reading here? So I guess the plot of this is that we're following this girl who's like the quiet, mousy, responsible girl in the group, and she feels very overshadowed by her best friend, who is like the star of the show and like the really popular girl. Everybody likes her. So this guy that's into her, who I was talking about in, was it the last clip? Whenever I was saying that there was a guy who was like toxic as fuck. All of the characters in here are toxic as fuck, cannot lie. But he's into her and he's like, oh, I bet you'd never do something like this. So she enters the competition essentially to get his attention. When I said like, I really hope he's not setting up to be the love interest, it's okay, like that past, he is just toxic as fuck. But she does it to get his attention and also to kind of try and stand out from her best friend. She ends up taking this guy who's got a crush on her, who is like the quiet, nerdy guy, with her to film her, and it kind of spirals from there. And every time she wants to get out, they offer her a more enticing price. So it started like, it ranges from a pair of nice shoes to like a scholarship, and every time she thinks about dropping out, they add a little bit more onto the prize. So aside from me reading it just like, what the hell is actually happening here, I just feel like it's supposed to be more and more high stakes, and I don't really know what I'm expecting, but the stakes don't seem all that high. You know what I mean? Like going into a coffee shop, pouring a cup of water over your head, not exactly the most challenging thing in the world. Like sure, yeah, it's a little bit embarrassing, but like it's fine, I can do that. Going into a place and asking people if they have condoms, a little bit embarrassing. But yeah, sure, I can do it. So we're finally getting to a point now. It has like a very slow start. I think it has like 100 pages of setup before it really gets into anything interesting, really. But we're now getting to the point where it is more high stakes. I can tell that that's going to get a 3-star max, but it's probably sitting at around a 2-star. And quality, like, essentially is not very good, but I can't look away from it. So we'll see what my final rating on that one turns out to be. But I am mainly here right now in this moment because this has less than 300 pages. It has like 290 something pages, which means I only have 100 pages left. And my next role is going to be a Patreon poll pick. And that means that right now we need to do another roll. So let's see what we're gonna get. Okay, so Hamilton is here as usual, and he has just laid down on the part of the board that I need you guys to be able to see, which I mean, of course he has. So we landed on the sci-fi space that was over here right in front of his face, and our scope for this roll is from here to here. So most of these spaces are fine, but there are two that I really do not want to land on, one of which is read along, because I don't have any read along books at the minute to read, and I especially don't have any in my Unhaul cart, and I also don't want to land on scroll through Goodreads. I think that this would be a really good space to land on while doing like roll as I go, and would be really fun, but it's not great in terms of an Unhaul project. But everything else is fair game, so hopefully the dice are in my favor. I feel like I'm jinxing myself. Let's do this. 10. And we have landed on other. We landed on other, and that is pretty much a genre that isn't romance, sci-fi, fantasy, or like standard contemporary, so a genre that isn't already on the board. So the prompt that I'm pairing this with for the Clear Your Shit readathon is going to be a shortest book. Okay, so what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through all of the books on this cart that fit for the prompt other, so all of the thrillers, and what else have I got? Like I've got one lit fic, I think, but everything that fits for the prompt other, I'm going to find the 4 shortest ones, and those are the 4 that are gonna go for the Patreon poll. This could be literally anything. Okay, so that didn't go as badly as I thought it would. There isn't actually a whole ton on there that isn't fantasy or contemporary, but the shortest one is The Deep Blue Between by Ayesha Haruna Attar. This is a unsolicited proof I got, but I thought I'd give it a try, and I think at least part of this one is historical fiction. The next biggest one is Hold Back the Tide by Melinda Salisbury. This one I thought was fantasy, but I looked on Goodreads and it's actually mostly categorized as horror. We then have another horror, which is The Forest of Hands and Teeth by Carrie Ryan. I believe that this one is YA Zombies, and this one was actually tied with another one, which was Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, for being like the 4th and 5th place shortest. They both have exactly the same amount of pages, but I think out of the two of them I'd rather read The Cousins right now, because Gillian Flynn, I feel like I gotta be in the mood. But this one is a YA mystery thriller type story. I'm gonna make the graphic and post the poll, and then when I get to the end of Nerve, we will see which one of these four I'm gonna be picking up next. Yo ho ho, just popping in real quick to do an outfit of the day because I haven't done one in a while, but we are going into York. We're gonna do some Christmas shopping. I'm really excited because I get to go to Starbucks and get my first Christmas latte of the season. I think we're going with a toffee nut. It's gonna be a real good time. But here's how I'm looking. I'm gonna put on my big yellow coat over the top, but we have a very dark green dungaree dress, as we call them in the UK. I believe you guys in the US would call this an overall dress. And then we just have a plain black turtleneck and some tights, and I think I'm gonna put my docs on with this as well. So this is what we're wearing and now I'm gonna head out and get some of my Christmas shopping done. I'm actually, fingers crossed, I'm gonna get quite a lot today, because if I could sort out most of my Christmas presents, that would be a big relief. Haven't slept very well since the last time that we spoke.
Ultraviolet, and every time I know the truth, speaking one way between me and you, and I'm fine on my own. So I wrote this song to serenade the ultraviolets all alone.
Good afternoon. I nearly forgot to check in with you guys today. I just finished up all of the work that I can currently do because some of my stocks got waylaid in transit, which is frustrating because it's coming to Christmas, you know, like I got a lot going on, but then obviously it works both ways. The companies that I buy from also have a lot going on, so no biggie. But I just finished work and was gonna just like lie down for an hour because I've been packing orders, so I have a bit of a sore neck, and then I realized that I need to come and talk to you guys. Anxiety has been kicking my butt pretty much since last week, on and off, but the last couple of days, like today, I'm just anxious about nothing. That is the thing. Like, I know realistically what it is that's maybe affecting my mood, but then the logic part of my brain is like, you have no need to react to these things, which is so true. I have no logical reason to react to these things, but I'm anxious anyway. What can I say? But last night I did finish Nerve by Jan Ryan. I gave it 2 stars. I just this book, I pretty much stand by everything that I said earlier. The thing that really killed it for me, well, there's a couple of things. It just didn't feel exciting because nothing felt truly high stakes. I don't understand how this loops back to the prologue. Like, normally when you have a prologue in a book that's set later in the story, you'll get to a point where it kind of loops back around to the prologue, but I don't know where this loops back to the prologue, so that just really didn't make any sense to me. The dares didn't feel all that high stakes, although they were, as I said, weirdly sleazy. Not a big fan of that. I feel like this had the potential to be really exciting, and it wasn't exciting, and above all else, that's pretty much all I expected from this book, and it did not deliver on that. So I will 100% be unhauling this. 2 stars. Not a fan. For clear your shit, it did fulfill the prompt to read about the people talk about, even though I will admit it was a little bit of a stretch. Nothing really landed with this. There was even a plot twist that I didn't see coming. Didn't even, and I will say, as I've already mentioned, this is like a car crash that you can't look away from, but not in a way that makes it worth reading. Like, it wasn't entertaining enough to fully deliver on those vibes, but I wasn't exactly bored when I was reading it, because every few pages I was like, what the fuck is happening? But it didn't even deliver on a level that would make it one of those trashy reads like Alice in Zombieland by Gina Showalter that I would absolutely never recommend, but it's like the good kind of trash that you just devour and then question all of your taste when you're done. I finished that one, which means that I was gonna say I have to pick up another book. Full disclosure, I already have picked up another book, but something that I haven't picked up is my phone. So we put up the Patreon poll for whatever book I was going to be reading next, and I can confirm that the winner of the poll with 52 votes is The Cousins by Karen M. McManus. But I really thought my money was on Hold Back the Tide winning this one, and Hold Back the Tide came in second place with 38 votes. So I was fully geared up to be reading Hold Back the Tide, but apparently I'm going to be reading The Cousins, which is interesting because the prompt for Cleo shit that this is going in for is shortest book, and this is the longest of the 4 that I picked. This is also probably going to be the last book that I read in this vlog, and as well as that, I've been lying to you guys. I thought that this was the 4th installment of this challenge. It's actually the 3rd, and I've been looking at the vlog series that I do 2, I guess. I've never really advertised them as series, I guess, but we have the Unhaul project, which happens sporadically, and then we also have the I read the series in a week, which I would like to continue doing that. And there is one more that I would like to introduce sometime soon if my next Bookoploloy roll, depending on what my next Bookoploloy roll is, which is going to be included in next week's vlog. It might be next week, it might be December, but essentially I kind of want to rotate them on a 3-month basis, so every month I do one of those types of vlogs. Complete segue, nothing to do with the book I'm reading right now, but this one I did start last night when I went to bed, and I'm currently 38, I don't even have a bookmark in it, I'm 38 pages into it, and I think, I mean, I'm only 3 chapters in, so I can't say too much about it, but I think that this is going to be the book in this video that I'm truly ambivalent about. I mean, it might have a really clever plot twist or something in it, but I have never ever had a desire to read a book by Karen M. McManus, and that is absolutely no shade on the author. I just don't read mystery. When I do read mystery, I like them to be thrillers. I've discussed this before about thrillers. My favorite types, the types that I like to read, are the really shocking ones, and I just don't think that that's what this is going to deliver, especially as it is a mystery, not a mystery thriller. And as well as that, when I read things like mysteries and thrillers, I definitely lean towards adult, because then I feel like there's more potential for that shock value. So I reckon that this is going to be like the true 3-star read, purely because I'm not interested in the genre. So I feel like I'm just going to come out on the other side and be like, yeah, this was all right. The reason I have this as well, because I have just said I've never had a desire to read Karen M. McManus. It is an Illumicrate edition that was included as an extra book in one of the later boxes of last year, maybe like November or December. So that's how I've ended up with it, and I thought that I would keep it and give it a try instead of just unhauling it straight off, because I'm going to be truly ambivalent about it. It might be a pretty entertaining read, but so far it's actually reminded me of, what is that book? We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, which I did really like because I did find the twist in that to be really shocking. I read it a long time ago though. The reason it's reminding me of that is just because they're heading to this resort. So this book is about this family. The main characters in here are the cousins, and their parents are 3 of 4 siblings that were disinherited and disowned by their mother. So the cousins have never spoken to their grandmother, they've never had anything to do with her, and then one year she sends them all a letter and she says, hey guys, I kind of want to get to know you now, so how about you all come and work on my island resort for a summer. So where I'm up to in this, just 3 chapters in, they're all getting the ferry to go to this island, I think it's called Gull Cove, and work on this resort, which reminds me of We Were Liars, because that is set on an island that this group of families that are all part of a larger family holiday on regularly. So I guess that the main mystery in this is going to be why the cousins' parents were all disinherited and disowned, because their grandmother sent her children, this is getting really confusing with all of the family terminology, but she sent all of her children a letter that just said, you know what you did, but apparently they have no idea what they did. They say that they don't anyway, so I'm guessing the main mystery is going to be uncovering what actually happened. So far, 38 pages into it, it's wordier than I thought it was going to be. Like, it's not overly dense or anything, but we have like completely full pages with a reasonably small text, which is not what I associate with mysteries, especially YA ones. But it's reasonably intriguing so far. Like, I'm not overly into it, I'm kind of just along for the ride, but we will definitely see how that unfolds. So I have like, is it 4 p.m? Yeah, it's dead on 4 p.m. I have about an hour until I'm gonna start making dinner. I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do with myself because I'm hosting Patreon sprints tonight, so I don't really want to read. So I'm gonna get a lot of reading done later, but I don't think an hour is long enough for me to set myself up and do something else. I do really need to have a tidy round, but I think I might do that tomorrow morning, because quite honestly I'm just not in the mood, and I don't want to do it tomorrow either, if I'm being honest. Whoever really wants to have to tidy and clean, but it needs to be done, so I don't know, we'll see. That's where I'm at right now. Hello. So I got out of reading sprints not long ago, but I've actually read a significant chunk of this now. I'm 170 pages into this, and I'm having really mixed feelings because I am liking it, but I find that the characters, like, it's very hard to distinguish between them. And then because like the confusion we were having, or I was having, when I was trying to explain to you the family connections in regards to the plot, I'm struggling to remember like who's the child of who, especially because all of the children of the main woman who's like the cousin's grandmother, so the cousin's parents, all of their names begin with A. So I think they're called like Archer, Allison, Adam, and then there's one with a real, I don't know if it's a weird name, but it's not a name that I would use for a forename. Anders is the other one, so I keep getting confused between Anders and Adam specifically. And the cousins like Millie and Aubrey, because we switch through the perspectives of all three of the cousins, I keep forgetting whether I'm in Millie or Aubrey's perspective when we're reading from them. We have had some reveals in here, but I feel like the reveals start coming through a little bit too early, and while some of them are good in terms of like what they are in relation to the story, I'm not really digging the delivery of them, because instead of me being shocked like, oh, I didn't see this, which I didn't see some of them, I'm just kind of reading it and I'm like, oh, okay, and then continuing. So I don't feel like there's enough tension or suspense or build up where they are concerned. And I also feel the reveals are explained a little bit too much. Like there was one that I thought was particularly good, and I guessed it just before the characters guessed it, but that is because it started like really laying out all the plot points relating to this reveal beforehand. That being said, I have managed to get through this evening 130 pages of this no problem, and I could continue. Now I don't know whether that's just because it's a mystery and it's not difficult to read, so obviously I kind of want to know the answer. I do think though that I guessed at around page 100 why the parents were disinherited and disowned. I haven't had the reveal yet because I think that's going to be the main reveal of the book, so I don't know for sure whether I'm right about that, but everything seems to be pointing to a certain thing in relation to characters that are present, characters that aren't present. And something else that's interesting about this is that we're flipping between two timelines, but not very frequently. So we are, as well as the perspectives of the cousins, we are occasionally getting the perspective of Allison, who is Millie's mother, and I think that the perspective we're getting is from the year 1999, so I'm guessing that that was the year that they were all kind of like, whatever happened that had them disowned, I'm guessing that's the year that it happened. But those chapters are kind of infrequent, so we've only had 3 so far, I believe, in 170 pages. Very mixed feelings. I'm enjoying it, but I'm not enjoying some of the execution elements of it. And when I was doing sprints with my patrons, we were talking about it a little bit, and I think 2 of my patrons said that they've read it, and I think that both of them gave it about a 3-star rating. So we'll see how it goes throughout the end of this. I'm anticipating finishing it tomorrow, fingers crossed, but a very mixed bag so far.
Thing there is to know, and of course she does. Just smile and hush, and in my eyes I'll fall asleep. Your gracious touch is numbing me. My best dark suit I'll wear for free, looking stylish for make-believe. Ooh, you're so smart with your ultraviolets, broken silence, your ultraviolet anyway. And every time I know.
Hello. I have just received this big chunky Amazon parcel, which I believe is from one of my patrons, Ash. So thank you very much, Ash, for sending this to me. I don't know exactly what it is, but it has to be signed for by somebody over the age of 18, and it's rattling around like a bottle, so I'm thinking it's some kind of alcohol. Well, let me see if I can get into it. Oh fuck my life, just tearing right into this box because I used my scissors to wrap presents this morning and I have no idea exactly where I put them after that. Oh, this is a fancy box. Ash, you didn't! Oh my god, this is like, I've never had Ciroc before. Wow. So Ash got me a bottle of red berry Ciroc. Oh my god. I want to, normally I take my vodka with a mixer, and I do have a mixer right here. I'm just about to edit some photos, which is why I'm at my desk on this Saturday afternoon. But I don't fancy a vodka right now, so I might just gonna take a shot. Because I've heard Ciroc vodka's real nice, but I've never had it because it's fancy. Oh, it smells good. That's a real nice vodka, and it has like a real strong berry taste as well. Thank you so much. Generosity of all of my patrons, to be fair, but like Ash never fails to astound me with how kind she is, so thank you so much. I may have a glass tonight because I was wrapping presents this morning, as I showed you guys in the b-roll, because it's actually Curtis and I's anniversary on Monday, but we both work Monday to Friday and also get real busy around Christmas time, so we can't really take Monday off. Monday's a real busy day, especially for Curtis with everything, like all orders that have come in from the weekend. So we exchanged gifts this morning, so that the gifts that like were interactive, I guess, like I got him Pokemon Snap, so that he'd actually have time to play it over the weekend, and then he got me an espresso coffee machine, which is so good. Like I'm thrilled, and I've placed an order for a whole ton of pods, which I'm really excited to try out. I got a whole bunch of limited edition ones, got me a couple of ghosts. I'll get you the ghosts actually and show you guys. So he got me 2 new ghosts from the York Ghost Market. These are spooky souvenirs from the shop that's opened in York. It's been there for nearly 2 years now, but this one's the November exclusive. Every ghost is a little bit different, they're all unique. And then I now have my first mini ghost, which I think, is it one of the gas? But he's so precious, because if you look at him next to the big one, he's so tiny. I'm obsessed. I can see my ghost collection getting out of hand, and I kind of always want to pick one up when I go to York, but obviously York isn't that far away from me, so we go like once a month, and I don't want it to get real excessive real quickly, but I have 4 now, so I do think I'm going to end up collecting them, but hopefully it's going to be a little bit like slow and steady instead of me just ending up with hundreds of them. But then he also got me the Disney Villainous game, which I've seen before and I've looked at it, but I didn't know whether because it's Disney it was quite easy, but I've heard that it's actually like you need strategy to complete it, and it's not. There's a lot that goes into it, and it's quite complex, and it's not suitable for children. Like apparently there's a lot of angry reviews on Amazon of parents who thought it would be suitable for kids and their kids can't play it. And then the card he got me I'm so obsessed with, because we all know that I'm a hoe for Joe Goldberg. So yeah, we've had a nice day, just a chill one really. I'm gonna do all of that cleaning that I talked about yesterday tomorrow morning, and tonight my plans are to finish my book. It's gonna be a rough night. Finish my book, make dinner, watch the first episode of Wheel of Time. We're starting Wheel of Time tonight. Work out, play a round of Disney Villainous with Curtis, and then I have a fortnight date with Curtis and Ryan. But yeah, I have a packed evening, really excited for it, and I'm currently on page 250 of The Cousins, so I'm getting into the last 70 pages of it now, which I'm gonna go back to when I finish editing these photos that I need to do. So I'm excited to see what the grand reveal is gonna be in there, and of course I'll come and let you guys know and wrap this up when I finish. So I successfully finished The Cousins by Karen M. McManus. I've also just discovered that I have like a big white smudgy mark on my sleeve, and I put this jumper on clean this morning, so I don't know what it is. Like, have I touched something? It might just be wax, but that's really annoying and I need to go get that off. But anywho, I finished The Cousins, and I was right about my rating for this. I've given it like a pretty solid 3 stars. I will say that I did enjoy it a lot more than I expected to going into it, but it still has all those issues that I talked about earlier with like slightly 2-dimensional characters. I think there's a little bit too much explaining within the plot reveals. When I said that I thought I'd guess the plot twist and the reason why they've been disinherited, yes, I did, but only part of it. So Karen M. McManus came through near the end with another big twist that I didn't see coming that I really appreciated. And overall, I thought it was a okay, like decent mystery read. Now, I am somebody who doesn't read a whole ton of mystery, as I've already discussed. So I think in terms of me enjoying this, it's very possible that I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would, because I don't read a whole ton of mystery, so it was something a little bit fresh and a little bit different for me. And also I don't have very much to compare it to in terms of like well done mysteries. But solid, middle of the road, 3 stars. I liked it. Did not blow me away in any way, shape or form, but I was pleasantly surprised by this one. So for this vlog in total, I managed to get through 3 books, which I'm really happy with my reading this week. I know that all of these books are pretty short. Like, there's not, the longest one might have been Ivy Aberdeen. Oh no, this one was the longest very slightly, but all of them are around 300 pages. So 3 very quick, very short reads. But with having read some substantial chunky fantasy recently, I think a week of reading stuff like this, especially as that outside of my comfort zone as well, so it was a little bit fresh, a little bit different, front has really perked me up and made me really enthusiastic to read. So in terms of Bookoploloy this week, we had a contemporary, a sci-fi, and an other, aka a mystery. And in terms of the Unhaul project, I will be unhauling all of these. I think out of these three, objectively the best book is Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World. The one that I enjoyed the most, probably this, because while I have criticisms, this was compelling enough that I was engaged pretty much the entire time that I was reading it. And this one, sadly, I did not like. So this is why we do the Unhaul project, because these books, especially Ivy Aberdeen, definitely a worthwhile read, an important read, especially for younger people. But it's not a book that I ever would have picked up and read. I know that if it wasn't for this Unhaul project, this would have either been sat on my shelf for years, like a whole ton of my books, especially on these shelves here, have been, or I would have just unhauled it without reading it. So I'm glad that I have this project to force me to go outside of my comfort zone a little bit, you know, because as we've proven here, I do like the occasional mystery. I do like impactful contemporary reads, but left to my own decisions, this is the reason why we have Bookoploloy as well. Like, if I was left to my own devices, I would be picking up fantasy constantly and then occasionally a little bit of romance. So glad that I managed to fit in an Unhaul project before the end of the year. I'm not sure what I'm reading yet. I haven't done my next roll yet. I'm gonna do that as soon as I wrapped up this vlog, and I'm really excited about it, especially now that we're out of the Unhaul project, and also my next roll is gonna be my pick. So it's just gonna be a true, like, whatever I fancy reading, and I have absolutely no idea. But before we wrap up this vlog, I want to say a big thank you to Ana Luisa once again for sponsoring this video. And if you guys would like to take advantage of that awesome Black Friday sale, you have until the 29th of November to grab yourself a piece of jewelry and get a second piece at 60% off. And the link is going to be right at the top of my description box, so that you can head on right over there and pick yourself up something a little bit sparkly for the holiday season. But that is it for this reading vlog today, guys. I do hope you've enjoyed it if you've made it this far. If you have, please don't forget to like if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you will go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.